How could or should you go about storing the data in your target business domain? Well, for many years, people have sort of reflexively stored their data in tables. The problem is that mapping such heavily normalized data into your objects can be a very expensive process, and we know we all need performance these days when it comes to the data flows that are coming in via the internet. So you're faced with decisions like when and how do you join these tables, and what data is going to be aggregated, and then what data is going to end up being cached. Why would you create so much impedance between your data and your underlying code? So you can store data as a JSON document. The benefit of these documents is that they allow you to articulate a data structure which directly corresponds to your underlying domain object. There are numerous open source libraries that easily map JSON to and from domain objects in virtually every major and a whole lot of not so major languages. So are traditional relational models the best choice? Let's do some comparison here. Now, in the relational world, you've got enforced normalization, or at least you're twisting the technology to do anything else. With Couchbase, we take a more relaxed approach. Now, why is this? Well, in the relational world, your schema is enforced by the database, so you need to have everything decided up front and hope you get it right. With Couchbase, your schema is inferred from the documents that you actually use over time. In the relational world, you have all the same fields in each record in a table, whereas in Couchbase, the fields may vary theoretically with every document, and our query language allows for this. In the relational world, generally data is normalized, meaning there are no duplicates anywhere within the database, whereas in the Couchbase world, data duplication is used easily as necessary. It's easy to denormalize. Simply create a document with an additional attribute. As we'll see later in this course, there are often very good reasons for doing so. In the relational world, the underlying database architecture is monolithic by design, whereas Couchbase has a clustered architecture intended to scale by core design. We go into this topic much more in our CB30 course here online. Last, the old-style relational technology is optimized for the data entry process, whereas the relaxed normalization of Couchbase is optimized for actual data use over time. So how do these two general approaches compare to each other, normalization versus denormalization? Well, there's nothing wrong with normalization. It minimizes your data inconsistencies. One item, one location. This reduces your update cost. There's no duplicates to account for over time. It also preserves your storage resources, which was one of the fundamental rationales for this entire approach back in the day when it was invented, in the 70s, when disco was cool. Denormalization also has a number of benefits. With a denormalized approach, you have the possibility of optimizing your data model over time based on both your planned access patterns as well as those that actually arise as your software goes into use. Plus, the duplication trade-offs that you can make can massively increase access speed. Last, as stated, it supports a clustered architecture and reduced overall server overhead. Couchbase gives you a choice. Couchbase supports normalization. It simply doesn't force it on you. So what have we learned here? First, relational storage causes speed and development constraints in your process. Your schema are predetermined and largely inflexible. It's also an approach that's designed for monolithic, expensive hardware boxes. JSON document storage, as we offer in Couchbase, allows you to infer your schema from evolving document structures. This relaxed normalization approach is optimized for access speed as well as agile development. It's also designed for scalable hardware clusters because you may get popular, you may need more servers, and you may need to evolve your structures over time. Coming up, we're going to start diving into the Couchbase specific details that you'll consider as you model your own target business domain using JSON.